Hi, my name's Allie, and I went on the Minnesota ministry trip, and I preached on the Wednesday night to a bunch of youth groups that came together. And afterwards, this girl comes up to me, and she she tells me that she had never met anyone before who had lost their dad at a young age, because I had lost my dad at 10, and I had shared that in my testimony. And she lost her dad when she was 7, and she just began to cry and was like, how do you deal with it? And she's hugging me, and it was just really sweet, but she had to leave right away. So I gave her my number and my name, and I was like, add me on Facebook, let's keep in contact, and you should try to come back. And so eventually she was able to get a ride, and she came back on Saturday night, which was our last night. And after the service, we went out in the lobby and just talked for a while, and I was asking her about her dad and things like that. She was telling me about how she was dealing with depression, and she would just go in her room and cry because she was just so upset still, and that she's dealing with suicidal thoughts and things like that. And I just told her, I was like, I know you know this, but the only way that you're going to begin to see healing through all this is through going to Jesus and giving him your hurt and your pain. And so through a series of conversations like that, finally she's like, so I have a question. What does it mean to accept Jesus in your heart? I've heard that before. And until this point, I didn't realize that she wasn't saved. And so I was kind of thrown off. I was like, oh, you haven't accepted Jesus? And she's like, no. And so I began to tell her the gospel story from Genesis to Revelation. And she's really interested the whole time, really listening. And so then after, I asked her, so what do you think about all this? And she was like, well, it's definitely more of a yes than a no. Like, I believe it more than I don't believe it. And so we just kept talking, and eventually she's like, okay, yes, I want to give my life to Jesus tonight. And so I went and we found this pastor lady who happened to be heading out right then, and we asked her, like, would you want to pray with us? And so she said yes, and she came over and led this girl through the sinner's prayer, and then we got her a Bible, and it was awesome. And then we just prayed over her, and afterwards I was like, so how do you feel? And she was like, I feel so happy. And you could tell she was like glowing. And she's texting me later on her way home, and she's like, thank you so much, that was awesome. Like, her Facebook status changed, the best day of my life. I just accepted Jesus. And so that was awesome. But a side note, this was really cool, the pastor lady who we'd asked to pray with us, come to find out, just minutes before we'd asked her, she was praying like in our prayer room, and she was like, Lord, I've never led anyone to you before. And she was like really pained by it, and it was her birthday. And so it was just so cool how the Lord worked it out, that she ended up getting to lead her through the sinner's prayer and through some other things. So that was really neat. But then the really cool thing to add on to everything is, so the girl who just got saved, she's texting me, and she's saying she has a question about sin, and she asks me if I think abortion is murder. And I tell her I do believe it's murder, and I kind of quote some scripture, and I'm telling her, I think, whatever, I'm just telling her that she needs, anyway, so then she tells me that, eventually she tells me that she hasn't had an abortion yet, but she's planning on it, which was a relief to me, because at first I thought that she had had an abortion. And so it was really awesome. We just had conversation about, she had all these fears and things about having the baby, and I had suggested adoption. Have you ever thought about that? And she was like, no, I never thought about that. And eventually, by the end of our conversation, she decides, she's like, okay, I'm going to have my baby, and I want to raise her or him, whatever, myself. And so that was awesome. And so that's pretty much the whole testimony. There's a lot of really cool things that happened just in the midst of everything. It was so the Lord, and I was just blessed to be a part of it.